Come on out any Sunday after 9 p.m. for discounted boulevards. Get you a beer and have a great time. You like what you're hearing? Check out Flanagan'sRightHook.com for more information on their music and where you can see them play. They are a favorite of Kelly's Westport Inn. Check them out many, many times at Kelly's in the heart of the core of Westport, on the corner of Westport Road in Pennsylvania. Kelly's Westport Inn. Be there.
Fake Ned Minute.
Oh, who did that?
May not actually be a minute.
Well, the postseason's underway. It started over a week ago, but it seems that nobody bothered to tell Alex Rodriguez. Alex's offseason started on October 1st. The problem is that his team was still technically in the playoffs until October 6th. That's until A-Rod struck out 3 times in their ALDS Game 5. This makes him the first person in baseball history to strike out to knock his team out of the playoffs. Twice. We knew you were destined for the record books, Alex. I was 4 years old when Chris Chambliss hit his home run to send Freddie Patek into the dugout crying in '76. I cried for over an hour. So seeing the recent futility of the world's most pompous, overpriced, obnoxious team, that's terribly rewarding to me. It's fantastic to see that A-Rod batted .111 in the ALDS, that he struck out 3 times in the 5th game, and that the Yankees are going home early. Losers. What can we take away from all of this? Well, we can take away that you don't have to be the cockiest team to be a champion. You don't have to be the highest paid team to be a champion. You do need to have the heart of a champion. And that it's always better to have a hard-throwing fister on your staff than have a weak swinging rod in the box. This has been your Fake Ned Minute.
Fake Ned Minute.
Oh, who did that?
Kyle Davies is done. I mean, nice guy. Good luck with your kid.
And we are back on the Royalman Report. Hopefully you heard the Fake Ned Minute there. Good stuff. And a quote from Brian McGannon, friend of the podcast, talking about Kyle Davies, who is indeed done. Last seen with the Toronto Blue Jays in their minor league system, and probably going no further than that. We've got a good crowd in the chat room today, and they've been talking about various things. One of the things JP's Golf Mom was talking about were the chances of Eric Hosmer winning the Rookie of the Year. You know, I think in the last month and a half, he really solidified his chances to actually get there. You know, he had a fantastic end of the season, led all rookies in the American League in base hits. He led all rookies with 400 or more plate appearances in OPS. You know, he was right up there in homers with, you know, some of the guys who were there, you know, Mark Trumbo and JP Arancibia. Some of those guys who started the year in the big leagues and remained there. And Hosmer, you know, had 5 weeks to catch up on. You know, his main competition, I think, is probably Jeremy Hellickson. You know, if you look around, Fansided has done some voting for these awards. And, you know, we gave it to Eric Hosmer, and that's a tabulation of all the writers of baseball sites on the Fansided network. So I think that's kind of bodes well. It's not, we're not going to know until November 14th. So we've got a month to find out. You know, also, I don't know how much it really matters. You know, the best example I can always come up with is in 1989 in the American League. Greg Olson won the Rookie of the Year over Tom Gordon and King Griffey Jr. So I think if you look at the careers of those three, Gordon was definitely better than Olson, and King Griffey Jr., of course, is going to be first ballot Hall of Famer.
Plus the guy had a last name Olson. I mean, who good in this world has ever had a last name Olson?
You know,
that's all I'm going to say about that.
Greg? No.
No.
Anyway, we were talking about some of the things from the 2011 season and some highlights and lowlights. We were talking a lot about surprises and guys like Alex Gordon, Melky Cabrera. We didn't really mention Jeff Francoeur, but I think he would apply to that category as well. Some of the disappointments, Joaquim Soria, I think would definitely be one. We were talking about that over the break where, you know, he had stretches and then he would just have a couple of games where he would just blow up. And, you know, I think that's troubling. It also kind of points to the short shelf life of closing pitchers in the major leagues. So you never know. Over the offseason, the Royals have shown they're not really afraid to make some moves. They've pretty much made a trade right after the World Series, I think, every offseason, or they've at least done it at the winter meetings. So, they're not going to just sit back and wait. And they do have, some prospects that are maybe surplus guys, Clint Robinson, for example, or, some of the outfield types, David Lowe, or even Lorenzo Cain, if they feel they want to keep Melky Cabrera around, guys like that they could maybe throw somewhere at, another team that could improve other spots on the major league roster. So,
what is your take on Laffey? Is the rotation fixed now? Are we going to win the World Series now? Or
I don't know that we're going to win the World Series, but the Royals picked up Aaron Laffey off waivers from the Yankees, he was a former Indians pitcher, left-hander, kind of a league average guy. I think he's probably going to be maybe in the competition in spring training. I don't know if he's going to really make the rotation. He might make the team as another reliever, coming out of the bullpen, but I don't see him really having a huge impact. But, the Royals have at least, it never hurts to have a left-handed pitcher around, and it never hurts to go after a guy who's had some success in the major league. So, it's a decent pickup, and I don't think it's going to really get in the way of too many other pitchers who might be coming up. That's one of the guys they have picked up. It's going to depend on the free agency and who they go after, if they end up going after anybody. There aren't a lot of really good pitchers, but there are some decent ones. They could also make trades. I mean, we've talked at length about James Shields and guys like that, or Chad Billingsley or Wandy Rodriguez, some of those guys. So I don't know. I mean, the Royals definitely know that that's an area they have to improve upon, and I think you're going to see a lot of competition for some of the rotation spots next year. Aaron Crow's probably going to be in that mix. Mike Montgomery has a chance to make the team out of spring training. I don't know. I mean, that's one of the things that's up in the air right now.
So the early odds on street ball name for Laffey would be what?
Laffy Taffy.
Laffy Taffy, I guess, would be the obvious. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
Fan over here.
Just too easy. I think it's obvious, unless Professor Laffy. There's always a professor on street ball. I think every team has to have Professor something. I don't know. I don't know why. It's too bad.
Professor Giggles. What's his name?
Right.
Professor Giggles. We could be onto something.
Yeah. Now he's just got to make the team. It's too bad Brian Bannister's not around anymore. He would have been perfect for the Professor title.
Yes.
He can turn an 85-mile-per-hour fastball into gold, kind of like the Professor on Gilligan's Island.
But back to the disappointments we were talking
Yes.
about, and you mentioned Aaron Crow, Mike Montgomery, and I would actually put both those in probably two of my bigger disappointments. And I say Aaron Crow because he was our all-star, and he was looking great in the first half of the season. And the second half, he didn't seem like the same pitcher for whatever reason. And he had times out there where he still had some success, but then there were times out there where he almost looked lost, like he just didn't, like he wasn't ready, or stuff that you just didn't see from the first half of the season.
Yeah.
And so to me, that was kind of disappointing because I thought if he could be an all-star and then kind of just cruise through that second half of the season just like the first and basically be what Greg Holland was for the whole season. Then I was saying, you know what? Then with Crow and Holland, if we wanted to move Soria, I'd feel comfortable with it. But the way Crow kind of faltered a little bit, and I still love Greg Holland. I think all the Royals fans do at this point. But it makes
nasty.
you a little bit less positive about trying to ship Soria with the way Crow kind of worked out because you feel your options are not quite as good as they were mid-season.
Yeah,
maybe.
not as solid as they were back in June and July. When even that stretch where Aaron Crow was the closer, technically by name at least, he never got a chance to actually save a game, but he was for, at least in theory, he was for a couple of games.
And then you look at Mike Montgomery, who, the fact that we didn't see him at all this year is a disappointment. And then, he was the guy who was pretty much gone on record saying he was disappointed he didn't break spring training with the team, and then he showed why, and the team looked to be right. He went through an entire year in AAA and had about a 5.6 ERA or whatever it was, and just looked unspectacular. I never saw him in person, but besides the Futures game. But
yeah, he never really got it together when he was down there. I mean, he would have a couple of good games, but then he would just have some struggles, and a lot of it was command, and he walked way too many people than you really want to see, and there wasn't really any addition to his strikeout rate when he was doing that, which sometimes you'll see that. A lot of times the guys who can strike out 9 batters, they can strike out a batter in an inning, they're going to walk 4 batters per 9 innings or something like that, which it's kind of your trade-off. You walk a guy, but you also don't, guys don't put the ball in play. And he wasn't really missing bats either. It was just kind of putting people on, and then they hit the ball and, runs scored. Yeah, definitely a disappointing year. And
I think if you're looking at anything that could be a positive out of all this, I think pitchers more so than other positions, more so than like the position players, just kind of sometimes if you get off to a bad start as a pitcher and things kind of keep rolling and keep seeming to go bad for you, then sometimes it just kind of turns into a wasted year almost. But they can still recover and still get back to that status that they were. So hopefully that might be the case with people like Soria, Montgomery, and Crow. Well, not Crow necessarily, but Montgomery and Soria.
Yeah, you look at even like Luke Hochevar had a pretty rough first half, but his second half kind of redeemed it. His overall numbers don't really reflect it, but if you had 2 halves like his second half, that's a pretty good year. I think he had like a 3.6 ERA or something over 15 starts or something in the second half.
I'd take him as our number 1 with those numbers.
I'd be hesitant, but I mean, if we don't get another guy
from the current staff.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. I mean. At least he's bringing his career ERA under 5. That's something, at least. Yeah, I think you're right. It's really tough for those guys. Any kind of the rate stat. Anytime you have a rate like ERA or batting average, a bad stretch will really sink you. Even though you can have a really good second half, it's still catching up to the things that you missed before. It's like Ian Kinsler had a terrible stretch, even during his hitting streak. He's only getting like 1 hit and 5 at-bats. But, he could have gotten 3 hits and 5 at-bats over a stretch, and it still wouldn't have pushed his average up that much. And speaking of Ian Kinsler, he's going to be back in the World Series. The Rangers, and when I say the Rangers, I pretty much mean Nelson Cruz, are going to be back in the World Series after beating the Tigers in 6 games. Nelson Cruz went crazy. I mean, he had 6 homers in a 6-game series, drove in 13 runs, had the walk-off grand slam in Game 1. Or was it Game 1? Yeah, I think it was Game 1. Incredible series. I mean, set records in both categories. So they're awaiting the winner of Milwaukee and St. Louis, which I think St. Louis was winning last I saw.
4-1. They've already pulled Markham, it sounds like.
Oh, great. Sean Markham from Excelsior Springs,
Missouri.
Yep. So we're looking at possibly a Rangers-Cardinals matchup. Yeah, I guess you had to root for the Rangers in that situation. I don't know. I guess if there's one thing to take away from it, the Rangers have kind of been built a lot of the same way that the Royals have. A lot of really deep farm system. A lot of talent that way. They traded Mark Teixeira and picked up a couple of, big-time prospects, Neftali Feliz and Elvis Andrus, who were 2 of the guys they got from Mark Teixeira back in 2006, 2007.
There is a really good article on your Kings of Kaufman website, of which Michael Engel is the senior executive, CEO, producer, executive senior editor of kingsofkaufman.com, by Ryan Wood, talking about just that, about are the Royals getting better and they're using the same mold as the Rangers, and it's a very, very good article.
Yeah, Ryan.
I read that earlier. It's good stuff.
It is good stuff. We're going to head off to break and talk a little bit more baseball and maybe mix in a little bit of Chiefs and other random stuff, and we will catch you back after the break.
Hey Royalman Report fans, are you ready for some football? I know I am. Kelly's Westport Inn at 500 Westport Road has everything you need for a great Sunday. The NFL Sunday Ticket, HD TVs, $2 pizza slices, and discounted beer buckets so low I can't even say I'm here, and you don't even have to pay $27 to park. You can hang out downstairs where it's non-smoking, or head on up to Randall's Roof which is temperature controlled and has smoking allowed. One of few places in Kansas City. This is the best deck in Kansas City according to the Pitch Magazine, and it is home of the Royalman Report Post Show. Come on out any Sunday after 9 p.m. for discounted boulevards. Get you a beer and have a great time. You like what you're hearing? Check out Flanagan'sRightHook.com for more information on their music and where you can see them play. They are a favorite of Kelly's Westport Inn. Check them out many, many times at Kelly's in the heart of the core of Westport on the corner of Westport Road in Pennsylvania. Kelly's Westport Inn. Be there.
Fake Ned Minute.
Oh, who did that?
May not actually be a minute. Oh, written in the stars, a million miles away. Oh, hi there. Sorry, I was just doing a little singing about the postseason. No, silly, not this year's postseason. I have absolutely no idea who's playing this year. Are the Mariners still in it? I could honestly care less. I'm thinking about next year. How freaking awesome is it going to be to play October baseball at the K? Just imagine hearing Joe Buck sound so disgusted about coming back to Kansas City after spending the All-Star break here. I can almost hear him calling a Hosmer Grand Slam in Game 5 of the LCS just like it's a can of corn in May. Here's Hosmer, steps up, bases loaded, and he crushes it over the fence into that water fountain thing. How crazy do you think the K will be for postseason baseball? I was at Game 7 in '85, but I wasn't old enough to drink, so I remember it. I promise that if we make the World Series next year, I'll spend every waking minute in October bombed off my gourd. What on earth is KCRoyalman going to be like during a postseason series? Do you think he and superfan Chris will just fly up and down Blue Ridge Cutoff on the jet stream left behind a Melky Cabrera home run? What do you think Tim McCarver will find a bitch about? That his ribs weren't warm enough? The real Ned Yost didn't rub his shoulders during the pregame interview? What kind of name is Mustakas? One thing for sure, it's gonna happen. As sure as I am, Seattle will win the pennant this year. This has been your Fake Ned Minute. Fake Ned Minute.
Oh, who did that?
Are you guys having a killer time?
And welcome back to the Royalman Report, where, yes, indeed, we are having a killer time. That was the second dosage of the Fake Ned Minute, so you're welcome, and I'm sorry on the same breath. Yeah, there's.
Hey, shout out to Andre and the Giants, who's the band that plays the music for those two. Rob Bratney's on Twitter. That band is really good. He sent me one of his albums, and the guitarist, whoever that guy is, they're not together anymore. They're out of Columbia, but they're Columbia, Missouri, home of the Missouri Tigers. They're not out. They're not
nice
around
job.
anymore, but really, really a good band. And the other thing we need to talk about before we get too far into this is if whatever you're listening to us on, Stitcher, iTunes, Smoke Signals, whatever, take this second right now to hit the +1 or the thumbs up or the middle finger or whatever, and rank us and rate us and add nice comments and smiley faces for us.
And if you
that helps.
If you end up on the Podomatic site where we have this, that's the first place where the finished edited product ends up. You can follow us, and that'll get you the latest updates on when the newest episode comes up. So
apparently we're on every week now. So
we are
through
on
the off
every
season.
week. Yep.
So for better or for worse.
Right, you're stuck with us.
Right.
Sorry.
Does that mean there's going to be a New Year's Day show?
I'm there. I got nothing going on.
Well, I don't know. We're gonna have to talk about that. I might not be awake for that. That's how
That's
I
a big
roll.
sport. That's a big sports day.
How about
New
a
Year's
New
Day.
Year's
It is.
night
That would be a
show?
great
but
show.
it's,
How about a New Year's Eve Royalman report? That needs to happen.
Do we want to remember doing the show?
Troy,
You know,
let's put that in the suggestion box, baby. Let's make that
I really
go.
don't want to spend my New Year's around you knuckleheads. Sorry.
Fake Ned Minute. Who did that?
Now that's the Christmas Day
I like it.
Royalman
That's
report.
fine. You
Check
betcha.
out the guy in the sombrero.
Every Sunday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Got one. Anyway. it is Sunday, so we should probably talk just a brief smattering of the NFL. The Chiefs, of course, they're on bye this week, though.
Don't jerk me around. It's a simple question.
Fantastic.
That was clutch.
And I just wonder, is this maybe the worst time that the Chiefs could have had a bye week? They won 2 games in a row. They actually looked like a reasonable offense. They started throwing the ball a little bit more, getting some of those guys, Steve Breston involved more in the last game. And now they have to take a week off. So do they lose momentum out of that, or is this something that they take the bye week and they build off of it?
Well, normally you like bye weeks to cure injuries, but all of our injuries
They're
are
all
torn
season
ACLs, so that really doesn't help at all. That kind of shoots you in the foot there.
Week.
I think it's good at this point simply because the Raiders is the game we're going to at Oakland next week. And they present a huge matchup problem for the Chiefs because they have a big, physical, mean defensive line. And anytime that happens, we saw when we played the Raiders last year and the Ravens in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Doesn't turn out well for the Chiefs. So if they can have an extra week to try and prepare, maybe game plan, maybe do a little scheme action and find a way to kind of take advantage of some of the Raiders' weaknesses, then I'm all for it. But I think the issue of stopping the momentum could be a little bit of something because I think they had some positive vibes going on after 2 straight victories around the Arrowhead drive up there.
Yeah, one of the things though, next week when they play the Raiders, they will not have Jason Campbell on the other side because I think he broke his collarbone. He did something to his collarbone.
Something got out of the game.
Yeah, so I mean he's out. Kyle Bowler took over. I mean,
Kyle Bowler sighting.
Kyle Bowler is the remedy to any losing streak you may have.
Did you know he can throw the ball through the field goal uprights from the 50-yard line on his knees? Did you guys know that?
Never heard that.
How many points do you get for that?
That is why he got drafted, because Brian Billick was so enamored with the fact that he could do that. He did it at his pro day when he was in college. I heard that story. So
how many receivers are going to be standing there? That's my question.
Yeah.
Can you do that?
Once you're on your knees, I believe you're down in the NFL.
If somebody's chasing him, can he still do that? My sources say no. I did hear a rumor earlier in the week that there may be negotiations to rename Arrowhead Stadium or rename part of it, maybe rename the field. As something that's always been Arrowhead Stadium, is that a really bad sign? Is that just something the Chiefs trying to get an edge, as far as their infrastructure so they don't have to do the charge firefighters for attendance after they hold the flag on opening weekend?
There's a couple of ways you can look at it. One, you could look at it by, hey, you know what, this guy, you can make money however you're going to make money, and as long as it's respectfully done, Google Field at Arrowhead Stadium, which I think Google seems to be the winner in the clubhouse, who they think is going to name this deal. Or you can look at it the completely opposite way as, Clark Hunt was just waiting for his dad to die before he started, bilking, selling off everything he can, and he's screwing, season ticket holders. He's got $27 to park, and it's the NFL. There's money out there. They're leaving money on the table by not renaming it, so might as well get that money, I suppose.
Yeah.
I think if like you said, if you do it respectfully, then I'm all for it. Yeah, because I'm never going to fault the guy for trying to make more money, unless it's something that hurts the team, where it's not going out and trying to sign free agents just so you can save money. But if he's in a situation like this where he can make more money, more power to him. But I think there is a semblance of goodwill that you have to keep towards the fans, that you want them, by just abolishing the Arrowhead name, I think you lose some of that with the fans. So I think if you can keep it with Google Field at Arrowhead Stadium, or Arrowhead Stadium powered by Google, which I kind of think was kind of cool, but if you can do something like that, then I'm fine with it. As long as you keep Arrowhead in there somewhere, like the Broncos did it with Invesco Field at Mile High and places like that. So if you can do something like that, then I'm all for that for sure.
Yeah, I think that's got to be the way you do it, because you look at a stadium like in Oakland, like with the A's.
O.co.
I can't even, they've changed the name of that stadium like 6 different times in the last 15 years. And it's just like, I don't know what to call it.
It's actually pretty clever now, because it's Overstock.com, and their name is now O.co, and it was the Oakland Coliseum
it was
so
also
it's really just you've bitlied the whole thing. Is what you've done. You've tiny URL.
Yes, the first Twitter stadium.
yeah.
Twitter appropriate stadium.
Very nice.
See, now that would be something if you got like
hashtag Arrowhead, hashtag
like
whatever.
Here's Aaron Crow coming out of the Twitter.com bullpen, or something. How would you? I don't know. He's sending a direct message to the bullpen. Send down A Crow 43.
There's Call the Bullpen brought to you by hashtag Twitter.com.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember when they changed the name from Royal Stadium to Kauffman Stadium, and it was something that didn't really sound right to me when I was.
I remember I was pretty young. But I remember not liking it as
13
much.
or 14 years old. I wasn't that old. It was right after Ewing Kauffman passed away when they did that. But it was still, it was a weird adjustment for me. I don't know if that really makes a difference. I don't think it's going to matter for any team when they rename that. I don't think players certainly probably don't care what the name of the stadium is as long as they're getting their paycheck and working, doing their job.
It's mostly a fan thing.
Right.
And I think the Royals are in a different situation where they named it after the owner and then going forward, because I think with Arrowhead, the only thing that the Chiefs have going for them is they're not smiting someone or what have you by changing the name. So if the Royals were to do it and to change it from Kauffman Stadium, their revered owner, to Google Stadium and completely cut out the Kauffman, that would have kind of a classless type of feel to it. So that's never going to happen with something like that. But so that if the Chiefs did do it, at least they wouldn't be hurting someone from the past or something like that. That's the one thing they have going for them.
Yeah, they wouldn't be treading on, an actual, icon of the franchise. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't think in the end it really matters. I think it's kind of noteworthy to just kind of follow just to see what happens. And I think it'd be cool if Google did something like that where maybe they put some money into the stadium to get some
super high-speed wireless out there.
I mean,
I cannot get any reception or anything out
Oh,
there.
yeah.
It's
That's
it's really annoying. I'm trying to check
terrible.
Twitter or something during the game. Awful. It's just awful.
I wonder if that's by design.
Yeah.
Let's cut
everybody
off.
gets on the same cell tower, and it's just
it's impossible to get anything out of there.
Funny, it doesn't happen at Royals games. Yet.
Oh, it does. It does to me. But,
oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't run into it.
I go off and on. I can get it sometimes at Royals game, and sometimes I can't. But Chiefs games, nothing for 3 hours. I'm Twitter blackout for 3 hours.
Yikes.
Which is no fun for anybody.
What? I couldn't do it. I die.
You're like, what am I can't. You just start writing things down on paper, like handing them down the row. It's like
pass this around to everybody so they can see it.
Quick, retweet, please.
Yeah.
What?
To the left, to the left.
Some other Kansas City sports news. The Sporting KC, I believe they made the playoffs. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
I mean, it's kind of like if I was following NASCAR, I really wouldn't know what to tell you. I mean, I know there are people that are fans of Sporting, and that's great. Fantastic. I'm personally not.
I think it's nice. It's nice that a local team is, and I've been out to a couple of games this year, and I have no idea who's on the team except the guy that looks like one of the evil guys on a Die Hard movie. I think he's their goalie. No idea what his first name is. Jimmy. He doesn't look like a Jimmy. He looks like he should be the arch enemy of what's his name on Die Hard. So, but that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't even try to talk Sporting KC because I don't know. I've watched a couple minutes here and there just to kind of get a feel for it. Open-minded.
Yeah,
just not my thing.
I pay attention when I can. I like soccer. I prefer the European soccer because it's better, quite frankly. But
is that like the hipster version of soccer?
Probably.
You've never heard of UEFA, have you?
I'd much rather stay up till 3 a.m. and watch it on Univision instead of go 10 minutes from my house and watch it.
Nothing quite like watching a rousing match of FC Rotterdam playing.
Bully for you.
Huzzah.
I
don't know.
But it is nice to see them have some success.
Yeah, I mean it is, and it's maybe
and that stadium's
something
pretty sweet out there.
That's what I've
very
heard.
Nice.
I haven't seen it, but I think that's a good sign. I mean, it's something they can get a following that way, and it kind of shows you what the Chiefs start winning, people start coming out a lot more. The Royals start winning, fill the stadium, things like that.
I mean, they're getting 15, 16, 17,000 people out there at that stadium, which its capacity is only a little over 18,000. I mean, it's like you were just saying. It goes to show this town is so starved for a legitimate winner. I mean, if the Royals can turn this around, or if the Chiefs can win a playoff game for the first time in 20 years, you know, they're going to get behind this team, and the Royals are in the driver's seat right now because they look to be on the best track. So next year, if they come out, I mean, this town's going to go nuts for Royals baseball. It's going to be a lot of fun. So
there's a lot of action going down in Arizona. The instructionals are down there, obviously. Bubba Starling hasn't been doing a lot because he had a strained quad. So he's kind of been the one guy you kind of want to see what he can do, and he hasn't been able to do much because he's hurt. But there's also the Arizona Fall League, so take a quick little rundown of what some guys have been doing down there. Will Myers is having a fantastic time down there, which is good to see because these are some former first-round picks, some former high-round picks down there doing some work. And Will Myers, in 27 at-bats, he's got 9 hits, 2 homers, driven in 6 runs. He's walked 7 times. I mean, he's got a 1.211 OPS. Maybe that's something that'll carry over into next season, where he's more than likely going to be in Double-A again. I mean, he's only 20 years old. He's not going to be 21 until December. So I don't think we're in any spot to rush him too much. We've got Frank Hoare for 2 more years. Not really worried about his development at this point. And we were talking, last week a lot about minor league stats and how much they actually matter. I don't know how much they really do. I think that was the consensus for all of us. And Jeff, you had a nice little nugget as well that we were talking about earlier. You can share that with everybody.
Yeah, I was talking to my dad because I talked to him a lot about minor league players, and George Brett never batted at 300. I think we looked at his stats earlier, and his highest was 291 in the minors in 3 or 4 years in the minor league. So something to keep in mind when judging minor league players and their statistics.
Yeah, it's not always going to be an indicator. It can be, but it's not always. Anyway, you're hearing the Welcome to the Jungle right now, which means it's time to close things out. Chris is showing off the Mizzou.
M-I-Z.
Yuck.
Z-O-U.
God, I can't even understand that. We better get out of here before things get a little too crazy. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Aaron Gnurk for
Thank you, Aaron.
running things. As always, thanks for you guys for talking some baseball. And thanks to all the listeners out there, especially those in the chat room today. Had a really good little discussion in there going on. Always fun.